We're joined now by Dr. Oz. Dr. Mehmet Oz serves as the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services under HHS Secretary RFK Jr. and President Trump. Dr. Oz, welcome to the show as always. Good to talk to you.
Good talk as always. It's been an active week. I suspect you'll want to speak a bit about autism and what might work.
Yeah, let's talk about autism and the Tylenol situation here, Doc. What do we know? What is being recommended? What is actually going on? And let's just stay as tight to the facts as we can on this one, because there's a lot of passion around this topic.
There is. Let's take a step back for 1 second and just make it really clear. There is no political benefit to President Trump talking about this. This is a whole-scale departure from what historically has happened with data within government, which is we have some opaque process. You don't really know what we know. Eventually, we figure it all out and tell you the best we can. We saw that in COVID. It backfires when moms think that they're gaslighting. They're being gaslit because they're not getting access to data. So the president charged all of us, Secretary Kennedy leading the process, with just breaking all the silos, breaking the barriers, just do the work and release the information when you have it. This is the first example. There will be future ones. So let's go over the data. $50 million is put into a process to try to research autism. Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH has been allocating that money in grants along the way, studying what's going on with autism, and discovered two signals, two leads that were intriguing enough that after a lot of discussion, it was decided to share with the American people. The first had to do with a prescription medication called leucovorin, which no one's ever heard of, but prescription leucovorin is essentially a way of getting B vitamins into the brains of children. Why is that a problem? We believe that there's a fair amount of pathology around B vitamins in the brains of kids who have autism. That's one of the reasons their brains get cloudy, foggy. They can't really process information. They don't learn to speak right. And so if we can reverse that problem, which is caused by their genes in some cases that we know of, and by antibodies blocking those receptors, those pathways into the brain in others, that would make a difference. It turns out with a couple of hundred kids in different small studies, that about half the kids seem to benefit when given this medication correctly. It's not perfect. We don't know enough about it to make broader promises, but I asked the key question. Claimbuck, both of you just tell me that if this resonates with you. I asked the question everyone should ask their doctor. Would you do it for your kid? And the answer I got over and over again was yes. We don't know for sure, but because it's so safe and this drug's been around forever, we think it will be worth it. So we released that information. At the same time, there was data that's been around for a couple of years, but more and more of it coming out about potential concerns around acetaminophen, which is the raw material in Tylenol. Now, I want to say this as crisply and clearly sticking to the facts as you asked me to. If you have a high fever, if you've got a bad problem, please talk to your docs. If you're pregnant, make sure that they're involved and take the acetaminophen, which is pretty much the only drug we would use in that setting. And it's the drug that most doctors use, myself included, in that setting because all the other drugs seem to have bigger problems, and having high fevers itself causes a problem. So this is not a warning never to take the drug. However, in cases where there was a lot of use of this drug, there does seem to be a signal, concerning enough that we were sharing it, that women subsequently have babies who develop autism. So the message really is, if you have a low-grade temperature, if you stub your toe, don't use the medication willy-nilly. Use it thoughtfully, recognizing that any medication that's strong enough to help you is strong enough to hurt you.
Dr. Oz, you have kids. Buck has a baby. I've got 3. I want to run through a couple of things because I know we got a lot of moms and we got a lot of grandmas out there. And everybody, when they get pregnant, by and large, is trying to do the best possible things they can for the baby that they are carrying. And there's a couple of things out there that I was going to point out and how complicated and sometimes even to the detriment all of these strictures can be. In America, they say women shouldn't eat sushi, pregnant women. They say that women should not have alcohol at all. As I'm sure you're aware, in Japan, women continue to eat sushi throughout pregnancy, no issues. In France, women continue to drink glasses of wine. I mean, they're not pounding bottles of wine and getting super drunk. By and large, kids aren't having issues there. Circling back, I read in the New York Times today, you may have more accurate data than this, that now I believe it's 1 in every 31 kids is being classified as autistic. Those numbers have skyrocketed. Something is going on, right? Either we're identifying autism way more, and maybe that's partly it. Maybe there are multiple different factors out there. You're a doctor, though, and I just like to go baseline. What would you tell a woman who just found out she's pregnant right now that is concerned about autism that she should do, in your opinion, to be the absolute healthiest? And obviously, one answer is she can talk to her doctor. But if this were your daughter and you were about to have a grandbaby, what would you tell her?
The most important thing you can do when you're pregnant is actually to be calm and realistic about the numbers. You will almost certainly do well. Mortality rates obviously are very low because we're so good generally at taking care of crises or complications when they occur. And anxiety itself is a problem during pregnancy. So recognize that you're in pretty good shape and you're lucky to be born in an era where we have high quality care. That stated, there are some unforced errors, rookie errors you want to avoid. Trusting that there's one product that's so safe that you can take it whenever you think you might have a small little thing not right is unwise because we just don't know. There's so many things happening during pregnancy with that miraculous process where these cells are growing at a fast rate, differentiating into organs. Everything's got to work. It's sort of a miracle that it ever works, but it almost always does work because we get out of the way. I say the same thing to my kids is I've got 5 grandkids now, one more coming. Say, just get out of the way of biology and let it run itself. A low-grade temperature is a healthy thing usually because it'll kill the virus that's bothering you, but it doesn't hurt your own cells. Don't trust external substances of any kind. I don't think alcohol is a good thing to do when you're pregnant, and you shouldn't have to drink alcohol to be able to get through your day. So, yes, if you're going to toast someone, that's different, but it should not be part of the norm. If the cleaner you eat, the better. Do not trust the environment to be clean. Go out of your way. Air purifiers, water purifiers are wise moves. It's a time for you to be so careful because you're the canary in the coal mine. Anything that's not right in society, in the world around us, would have a increased detrimental effect on you and your fetus. And let me take one step back up because you mentioned a stat. 1 in 31 kids now have autism. Just to put this in perspective, that is 5 times more than it was in 2000, 25 years ago. 5 times more.
Yeah.
So it's not genetics. And I don't buy the canard that this is all about measurement because I just turned 65. I'm running the agency that I'm a member of now, Medicare, right? There aren't any people my age that I know of who have autism. Bobby Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy, is found, reminds all of us that he in his whole life never met anyone his age who has autism. I'm sure they're out there, but they're not very common. Whereas you go to school today, you take your kids to school, and you talk to the other parents. Many of those parents have kids with autistic children. It changes their life.
Yeah.
So the president's passion about this comes from a realization this is not genetic. This is not measurement. There is a change in our environment. He is undaunted. He will find it and pursue it. And these are 2 clues of how to deal with it.
Dr. Oz, I wanted to follow up on this. Is it and now I'm asking more for your analysis and maybe even a bit of your gut instinct on this, having practiced medicine for decades and now having access to the data on these things at a very high level on the policy side. When you're talking about that, we just established that really deeply troubling rise of autism. Do you think it is most likely to be a multi-factor problem that has caused the increase, as in several things, together, or just several things in general? Or do you think that it might be a really one primary culprit that will be found? It's just a question of whittling down the data and pursuing the science and finally getting us to what's really at the heart of this crisis?
I believe it's multifactorial, but they may work through common mechanisms. For example, I brought up the reality that folate levels are low in the brain. Folate comes from foliage, leafy greens. So this vitamin B9 is a critical element in brain development. It's possible that several of the things we're worried about all work to inhibit the ability of the fragile child's brain to take up enough of this critical ingredient so their brain forms normally. It could happen because antibodies are made because the kid's allergic to everything from a food that they're being given to a substance in their body, to a toxin in their environment, mold and chemicals, all kinds of things. We don't know how they work in the body, but they probably work through several common pathways. What I do have confidence in, since I've been looking at this together with the rest of the team, and Jay Bhattacharya, Marty McCary, who head of the NIH and FDA, we're all laser focused on this, in part because the secretary insists it and the president demands it. We are seeing signals of lots of things. We didn't want to talk about all of them, but we're seeing things that all could be concerning. We just want to sort of whittle it down and get to the ones that are legitimate, the things we might be able to do differently in our lives. But certainly you want to start being transparent with the American people, because trust is built brick by brick by shining light on all the things you know. If I know things you don't know, there's no reason why you would trust me to do more and better with it than you would. And this is why I think parents in particular who love their kids more than anybody should be armed with the best data the government has as we get it. And of course, yes, it scares people, it alarms people. Not everyone wants to hear it. Not everyone agrees ideologically. I get all that stuff. But if you mix politics and medicine, you know what you get? Politics. You kill medicine. And so the last thing we want to do is hold back because there's a political rationale, which is, again, if you're a apolitical person who's passionate about people, you tell them what you know. That's what a doctor does.
We're talking to Dr. Oz. You just hit on something. This will be the last question because I know you're busy and we've got to hit a break. But the autism rates have skyrocketed. You talked about how they've skyrocketed, not just historically, but in the 21st century in particular. It's also happened with allergies. I know there are a lot of parents out there. You mentioned, Dr. Oz, that you rarely see, and Bobby Kennedy has rarely seen people your age who have autism. Allergies. When I was a kid growing up, nobody was allergic to peanuts. It didn't feel like. Now the peanut allergy is so commonplace that they don't even give out peanuts on airplanes anymore. They've had to stop doing that. Is it possible that we're seeing some connection in the environment that is impacting things on a variety of different levels? Do you think there might be any connection between autism and allergies and just the way that the body chemistry is changing? And Buck and I have talked about this. This is a big question too. Is it partly maybe connected also to the idea of older parents, right? Dads and moms, frankly, are having babies way later in the 21st century than they did for basically the entirety of human existence.
Clay, such an excellent question. All the things you identified, because you're a curious person, and by the way, to me, the Maha movement is about being curious, and 80% of statements are questions in disguise. You're actually a curious human being. The questions you're asking are the ones that we have got to be brave enough to answer and share if we're courageous with people around us, but you got to be kind. So you mentioned age of the parent. Yes, that's a risk factor. We've known that, but it's hard to hear that if you're a parent. But yet, again, you got to be transparent. Doctors tell patients things they don't always want to hear, but you at least will respect us for telling you the truth. The allergy issue, I think, is a bigger problem. There's a reason why so many kids are allergic. You're right. Peanut allergy is unheard of when I was a kid. We have an epidemic of all types of allergies, which again is reflective of the fact that we're traumatizing the fragile immune system of the child, who's just trying to figure out what the world is about and to differentiate what's friendly and what's foe. Their immune system is confused. I suspect there are chemicals that they're getting exposed to that are causing this. We are actively, of course, searching. There's many allegations. When you don't know the answer, it's easy to blame folks. We don't have the luxury of bickering. When you're increasing by fivefold the incidence of a tragic condition that could be, it's obviously these kids are lovable, should be loved, we'll be taking care of it. As a society, we're judged by how we take care of our most vulnerable, so we'll always take care of kids on the autism spectrum. But it's a heck of a lot easier not to have to fight that battle when you're going through life, and these kids deserve better. We have got to deliver. And looking at the cause of allergies, I think, is one of the biggest clues, because they're the tip of the iceberg. You figure that out, that's the leading edge. Behind that are a whole bunch of other conditions, celiac disease, bowel problems, of course, all kinds of pathologies like autism spectrum, ADHD. You can go down the laundry list of issues that plague our youth, and many of them come back to an immune system that can't function correctly. It's a fragile system. It's being maligned. We've got to figure out what's doing it.
Dr. Oz, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining us. Always happy to have you on. Just let us know when you think it makes sense, and good work and good luck trying to figure all this out.
God bless you both. Take care.
That's Dr. Oz, much less serious. Although, Buck, I do think, and we'll talk about this some more during the course of the program, this is something that motivates a huge majority, I think, of our listeners out there. There's a sense that we are making choices not only on our own self, but on behalf of our kids that are actually creating worse outcomes. And I think that allergy and autistic thing, whatever you think, obviously they've skyrocketed. And we'll talk about some of that. Why is that happening? In the meantime, I want to tell you about our friends that are over in Israel that are fighting so many difficult battles every single day. It's been another very trying week in Israel, renewed drone attacks on innocent civilians. The attacks don't get the headlines they once did, but a lot's happened since October 7th. Hostages still being held, and we've got a movement of support for the people of Israel coming. It's called Flags of Fellowship. It's organized by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. On Sunday, October 5th, millions of people across America will plant an Israeli flag in honor and solidarity with the victims of the terror attack of October 7th, when 1,200 innocent Israelis were killed. You can be a part of the movement, too. To get more information about how you can join the Flags of Fellowship, visit the fellowship online at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.